for the Indiana Pacers. In their third Eastern Conference Final, one game from their first NBA Final. One game for Larry Bird, who knows what it means to be an NBA champion, who reached the finals 5 times as a player. One game to get there again in his first year as a coach. One game for the Chicago Bulls, the NBA's team of the 90s. One game to sustain a dynasty or end it. One game from a finals rematch with the Utah Jazz. We can only guess what the future holds for Michael Jordan, but for the most fabled athlete of our time, there could be only one game left, and that one game could be tonight. One game. Game 7. Next.
This is the NBA on NBC. The 1998 NBA playoffs. Tonight, it's the Indiana Pacers versus the Chicago Bulls.
For the first time in its brief history, the United Center is the stage for a 7th game in the NBA playoffs. The Indiana Pacers won 3 ABA titles. They've never been to the finals in the NBA. This is the 3rd time in the last 5 years they've faced a 7th game on the road in the conference finals, one step away from the NBA's biggest show. Moments ago, the Chicago Bulls went through their usual pregame ritual, although there's nothing usual about a Game 7.
What time is it? Game time!
Come on, baby. And welcome to Game 7, everybody. I'm Bob Costas. One of the distinguishing characteristics of this great run by the Chicago Bulls is the relative ease with which they have dispatched their opponents in their championship seasons. In fact, they have never faced an elimination game, a Game 7, as late as the conference finals or the finals in any of the 5 seasons in which they won the title. So this is something new for them. For Michael Jordan, in this his 36th playoff series, it's just his 3rd Game 7. But MJ offers assurances that the dynasty will not end here tonight.
We're going to win Game 7.
Well, it's not quite Babe Ruth calling his shot or Joe Namath as a nearly 3-touchdown underdog guaranteeing a win in Super Bowl III. But when the question was put to him directly, Michael said, sure, we're home, we're the champs, we'll win. Isaiah Thomas is here, so too is Doug Collins. A Bulls win may be likely, but what's likely doesn't always happen in sports. If you were Phil Jackson, Doug, what would your biggest concern be tonight?
Well, Bob, before the series started, Phil Jackson said, Michael Jordan cannot beat this team alone. That would be my biggest concern. Michael needs help today in the form of Dennis Rodman on the boards and defensively, and he needs help from Scottie Pippen and Tony Kukoc. In Game 5, they were terrific. You see the points and assists. In Game 6, Michael 35, Scottie and Tony only 9 of 25, 3 assists. Neither had a field goal in the 4th quarter. Michael needs to be fresh in the last 6 minutes of this game. So if the game is close, he can do what he does best, be the best closer in the NBA.
All right, let's turn to the Indiana Pacers. They did not come this far just to be able to say that they made it exciting and they made it interesting. They came this far to win.
Bob, they came to win, but they want to forget about Game 5. You see in Game 5, they shot terribly from the field. What they want to do is find gold inside, as they did in Game 6. They have established Smith and Davis in the low post. You see they were combined 18 of 21 from the field. Now, if Indiana has any shot at winning this game here tonight, they got to go back to Smith and Davis in the low post to free up the perimeter for Miller and Mullins. Bob?
48 minutes, at least in regulation, to decide who plays the Utah Jazz for the NBA title. Game 7 is next.
time can be anything you want as long as it feels good. By Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. And by Reebok, creating possibilities one athlete at a time.
Beautiful spring evening in Chicago. Inside the United Center, here are the starting lineups for tonight's Game 7. Reggie Miller held under double figures for the first time in the playoffs in Game 6, but of course he virtually won 3 and 4 for the Pacers. Chris Mullin had 18 points here in Game 2 on 6 of 10. Since then, 18 points total on 6 of 23, averaging only 4.5 points a game. They need some offense from him. Larry Bird, the NBA's Coach of the Year, with his assistants Rick Carlisle and Dick Carter. Here's Phil Jackson's lineup. Michael Jordan needs just 5 points tonight to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the NBA's all-time leading playoff scorer. Kukoc in the starting lineup again, but if Dale Davis begins to get into the blocks and score early, we'll see Rodman off the bench sooner than we have earlier in this series. Phil Jackson, the all-time leading coach in terms of winning percentage in both the regular season and the playoffs in NBA history. Here's Ahmad Rashad.
All right, thanks, Bob. Before the last game, I told you the whole thing about the Bulls is about closure. It didn't happen. Today, there's a lot of concern in that Bulls locker room, and mainly because of the uncertainty. Like you reported earlier, Michael Jordan told me he's only been in this situation 3 times, only 1 time successfully, which makes him feel uneasy. He also said he's feeling a lot of pressure, not so much on how he'll play, but if the Bulls will rise to the occasion. They don't have to wait long because the game is about to begin. But before that, let's go down to Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Ahmad. Well, Larry Bird told his team to wear their uniforms to the game. He wanted them to focus early. Then when they got here, he gave a very emotional and personal speech. He told them, guys, believe in yourselves. Believe in your dreams. We can win this whole thing. He then went on to tell them of the 1981 Celtics in his first title.